Captain Marcus Thorne stood at the gates of Celestial Realm, adjusting the ornate armor that suddenly felt heavier than it ever had in life. He was 32 years old, a warrior who had led men into battle with unwavering courage. Behind him stood 6 of his finest soldiers, men who had followed him through fire and steel. They had all fallen together defending a village from raiders. Now they stood in a place beyond comprehension. Massive wings of pure white rose behind angelic guardians. Towers of light stretched upward into infinity. The architecture defied earthly understanding. Columns that seemed carved from starlight. Arches that sang with harmonies he could feel in his chest. Marcus had expected judgment, fire perhaps, or immediate entry to paradise. Instead, an angel approached him, not floating or glowing with blinding light, but walking, human in form yet otherworldly in presence. The angel wore simple robes of white and gold. His face was kind, but his eyes held the weight of eternity. Captain Thorne, the angel said, his voice like wind through ancient trees. "Welcome. Is this heaven?" Marcus asked, his hand instinctively reaching for a sword that was no longer at his side. "This is the threshold," the angel replied, "between what was and what will be, a place where souls arrive and are shown what they need to see." Marcus glanced back at his men. They looked as confused as he felt. "We fought honorably," Marcus said, his voice firm despite the strangeness of the moment. "We died protecting innocence. Surely that counts for something." The angel nodded slowly. "It counts for much. But entry here is not a reward for deeds alone. It is about the condition of the heart, what was loved in life, what was truly valued." Marcus felt a flicker of unease. He had been a good soldier, a loyal captain. He had never stolen or murdered without cause. "I do not understand," he said. "Come," the angel gestured. "Let me show you." They walked through gates that towered impossibly high, into a garden that made Marcus' heart ache with beauty. Flowers that glowed with inner light, trees that seemed to breathe peace, water that sang as it flowed over stones of crystal. But the angel did not stop there. He led them to a reflecting pool. The surface showed not their current faces, but moments from their lives. Marcus saw himself as a young lieutenant, standing over a wounded enemy soldier. The man was no threat, disarmed and bleeding. In the memory, Marcus turned away, left the man to die slowly in the mud. "I was at war," Marcus said quietly. "War requires hard choices." "Yes," the angel agreed. "But notice what comes next." The pool shifted. It showed Marcus in his tent that night, eating a fine meal, while outside his men huddled in the rain. He had told himself he needed his strength, that a captain must be rested to lead well. But the truth was simpler. He had wanted comfort. The pool showed more moments. Times when Marcus had taken credit for victories won by his men. Moments when he had passed dying soldiers because stopping would slow his advance. Instances when he had hoarded supplies while villagers starved. "I was doing my duty," Marcus protested, but his voice lacked conviction now. "You were serving yourself," the angel said gently, not with malice, but with a heart that had learned to see others as tools, as means to your glory. Marcus felt something break inside him. Tears he had not shed in 20 years burned his eyes. "I thought I was good," he whispered. "I thought I was better than most." "You were better than many," the angel said. "But heaven is not graded on a curve. It is not about being less terrible than the worst of humanity. It is about becoming more loving, more merciful, more willing to sacrifice for others without counting the cost." Marcus sank to his knees, the weight of his armor suddenly unbearable. "Then I have failed." The angel knelt beside him, placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have arrived," he said, "which means you are ready to see." Many souls never reach this threshold. They die so hardened they cannot even approach these gates. But you are here. Your final act was one of true selflessness. You died shielding a child, not for glory, not for recognition, but because in that moment your heart remembered what mattered. Marcus remembered the little girl with dark curls. He had thrown himself between her and a raider's blade, had felt the steel pierce his chest, had fallen knowing his men would die trying to save him. But the girl had lived. One good act does not erase a lifetime of selfish ones, Marcus said. No, the angel agreed, but it reveals what was always possible within you. The man you could have been, the man you can still become. I am dead, Marcus said. How can I become anything? The angel smiled. Death is not an ending. It is a passage, a transformation. You can enter these gates, Marcus, but not as you are. First, you must be refined, must learn to see others not as tools or obstacles, but as beloved children of the same Creator who made you, must learn to love as you were always meant to love. Marcus looked at the gates, at the beauty beyond. He understood now. Heaven was not a place for people like him. Not yet. It was a place for people who had learned what he was only beginning to grasp, that every life mattered, that kindness was not weakness, that true strength lay in lifting others. I want to learn, he said. I want to become better. The angel helped him to his feet. Then your journey begins. Behind them, Marcus heard his men speaking quietly. Some were crying. Others stood in silence. All of them had seen their own reflections in the pool. All of them understood. Will we be together? Marcus asked. For a time, the angel said, you will learn together, serve together in ways you never imagined. And one day when your hearts are ready, you will pass through these gates, not as conquerors, but as brothers. Marcus looked at his men, really looked at them, not as soldiers under his command, but as souls on the same journey. He had learned their names in life, but he had never really known them. I am sorry, he said to them, for the times I failed you. One by one they nodded. Some met his eyes. Others looked away. They were all learning together. The angel began to lead them away from the gates, toward paths that wound through gardens and across bridges of light. Where are we going? Marcus asked. To places where you will serve those still living, where you will guard and guide without glory, where you will learn that the greatest captains are those who make themselves least. Marcus took one last look at the gates, at the paradise he had thought he deserved. He understood now. It was not about deserving. It was about becoming. He turned and followed the angel. His men walked beside him, not behind, not following orders, but beside him, equals in their brokenness, companions in their hope. And for the first time since he had put on armor as a boy, Marcus Thorne felt truly free.